Very nice. So you can have a seat and then when you're ready.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of the electoral authorities of the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens and the School of Science, I would like to welcome you all, and especially Dr. Pavlo Sekades, a biologist with a PhD in cell biology and 17 years in laboratory experience, who has worked as a managing editor for the journal Vaccine and a scientific publisher of the journal Oceanography, and is now working as a customer consultant in Elsevier. We all realize that reporting on scientific activities has become much more complicated and elaborate in recent years. The dissemination of research activities emerges almost as a social necessity, and the accountability of researchers for their practices puts ethical issues at the forefront. At the same time, the production of published research appears to increase at rates that were unheard of a few decades ago. Consequently, searching for references and citations has evolved into a separate task important in its own right during the writing of a research paper or a scientific report. The experience of Dr. Sekades on these issues guarantees that the practical information he will provide during these two workshops will be helpful for the efficient writing of successful papers by all participants. For that reason, I would like to heartily thank Elsevier and Dr. Sekades, as well as the Library Directorate of the University of Athens and the Library of the School of Science, for the organization of these two workshops. I hope that you will all benefit from attending today's event. Thank you very much. Dr. Sekades, please.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for your kind words and for the introduction. Thanks a lot for the invitation. Thanks, Erasmia, for helping me to arrange this session. And yes, we are going to discuss today about how to properly publish or how to properly write an article in order to increase the chances that you will get it accepted. It's not about the scientific message. Of course, this is on your side. The kind of science that you are producing depends on you. But properly writing will help you for that your articles will be better seen by the editors, better received, and then they will be treated in a better way. The slides, they are breaking a little bit the rules of style. They are crowded with text. But my idea is that this slide deck I will give it to your library, and then you can access it, and then it will serve you as a guide when writing your scientific articles. So there will be 2 sessions, as it has been said. One, it will be on article writing, and the second one on Mendeley Reference Manager, who's a reference manager just to manage your citations and then to cite properly in your articles. And this Mendeley, of course, but any other reference manager in the market is very useful, and I would strongly recommend you to use it. It will save you a lot of time. So just to break a little bit the ice, I will briefly go through the history of peer review. Scientific reporting is based on peer review. Peers are scrutinizing our work and are challenging it and giving us ideas on how to make it better. So we can start, we can go back as far as to 1665. This is almost 400 years ago, and at this moment the Journal of Savants and Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society of London put in place the first peer review has been known up to date. It was not exactly the same as it is today, but very, very similar. Not all the articles were reviewed, but most of them they were. A few years later, Medical Association Observation started the full peer review process for all the articles included in this journal. And again, it has been with us for longer than 150 years. It's so that it's a good method, or it hasn't been. Of course, there have been improvements, but it's all the same. So our peers checking our results. 1869, Nature, well-known scientific journal, very generalistic, publishes its first issue and is still in a very good health. So this means that scientific reports are interesting for society and are very important. A few years later, Science, another flagship of scientific reporting, was launched, and it was exactly the same year where Elsevier, as we know it today, is ended. 1947, the first full international journal is launched, and then we jump a few years to 1990. What happened in 1989? Tim Berners-Lee created the World Wide Web, and this dramatically changed the world of scientific reporting. And Postmodern Culture was the first journal that was published only online. There was only an online version, not printed records. So this is already a milestone in publishing, I would say. And of course, the entrance of the internet in our lives has dramatically changed the way we had to deal with article submitting, peer review, and so on. All these things are online nowadays. We think that preprints are something really from our days, but in 1991, Archive was established. It was the first repository of preprints, so it's already 30 years with us. And of course, again, internet allowed that a journal like PLOS ONE published 30,000 articles. Good morning. 30,000 articles in only 1 year. This wouldn't have been possible without the internet. I mean, and this is a fantastic tool that allows science to really improve, but of course it makes the landscape of scientific publishing a little bit more complex in terms of analysis and so on. And then, well, from there onwards up to today, there have been different initiatives, different ways of publishing, and well, and I think it's still developing. With this timeline, I want to show you that we are covering here around 500 years, but most of the things happened after 1989. So just for you to know that these are some tools that we have at Elsevier that allows to research articles, find literature, and manage it. It's not easy because the amount of published papers has dramatically increased over the years. So, well, this is just to show you that basically all the things have happened in the last 30 years in terms of publishing. And this is basically how it looks, only in scientific, technical, and medical publishing. Numbers are, in my opinion, very impressive. So it's more than 2 million of peer-reviewed articles published by more than 2,000 publishers. There are over 20,000 journals. This is a huge amount. I cannot come up with so many title names. So, I mean, it's becoming more and more diverse, colorful, and definitely interesting and beneficial for society, of course. And then, well, there are in total over 3 million publications per year, which is a really, really amazing number. Okay, I can present you some data on your research output of the National and Capodistrian University of Athens. As you can see, these are data from the last 5 years, 2017 to 2022. You have published almost 30,000 articles. Again, it's a pretty impressive number. It's 100 articles per day, basically, with, well, this many authors. And, well, these are some numbers that in the report you can check, and it will give you some sort of an insight on your publication. These are the disciplines that you are publishing the most, medicine being very prominent, also mathematics, and, well, we can make it a little bit more granular and define some topics. And, well, you can see that medicine is really highly represented, and as it is mathematics and physics, so you're very strong in these areas. And you can see here how you have been increasing the number of publications over the years, and actually you are publishing in very good journals. Around half of the articles that are published by this institution, they are in the top 25% highest score journals, which is a very good indication. And as you can see, there have been a steadily increasing of publications over the years. So it's very nice. Congratulations. The way you collaborate, so actually you have a lot of international collaboration. Again, half of your publications have been involved with other institutions all around the world. And, well, you can see some data here, who you are collaborating the most with. Okay, why are we here? Why are you here? Well, you want to publish your paper. You have been working hard in the lab. You have your data here, and you want to have a paper accepted, if possible, in the best journal that you can have in mind. I was here one day as a scientist myself, and I had exactly this picture. There are all these people, and you can name them reviewers, editors, your own supervisors, and so on, that basically want to ruin your life, make your life very difficult, don't want to accept your paper. And actually, this is a straight line, but in my mind, it was curvy, I would say, right? I mean, it's not really straight. So the idea is that I change this view, that you think that these people are not your enemies, but your allies. They want to collaborate with you. They want to make honest contribution as for make your research better. It's painful, it's not easy, but it's how it works. So I hope that by the end of the session you have more friendly faces here and not these threats that I saw it myself like this. Working now for a publishing company, things changing in your mind. So the agenda for today is an overview on how to properly write articles, how to submit them, and how to deal with the peer review process afterwards. Again, there's a lot of text in the slide. I won't go through all of it, of course, but just feel free to have a look at the slide deck when you are going to write your papers. You will find useful information here. So how does the peer review process works? Basically, you are here as an author. Again, you have your manuscript, you've written your text, and you want to submit your article. The first thing you have to do is just to choose the right journal to find it. We will come back to that later. And then you submit the article. It will get to the editor. And the editor will decide, just by having a look at the cover letter, by having a look at the abstract and the article, whether it fulfills the basic requirements of the journal. If it doesn't, it will be immediately rejected. If it does, then you have the chance to start the peer review process. I'm going to basically try to minimize the risk of rejection by formal things, by just because you are not properly presenting the article. This is what it is about, because again, science relies on you. It's on your side. So if your article fulfills the first requirements, it will be assigned to reviewers and the whole process will start. I will come back to this slide later when talking about major revision, minor revision, and so on. So basically, this is how it works, and hopefully all the aesthetics and all cosmetics of the article are properly done as for you to increase your chances of getting it published. So the first thing, again, you need to select and to choose the best journal. We all want to publish in the highest impact journals that we can. And in order to find them, you need to ask yourself several questions. Of course, journals are peer-reviewed, need to be peer-reviewed. If you're publishing in a journal that is not peer-reviewed, your work won't be cited. And at the end of the day, citations is a very important measure for your scientific output. You will have to focus in the audience. How fast it makes a decision, and this can be strategically important if you are asking for a grant, if you are in a hurry. So this is something that you also need to have in mind, because sometimes if it's going to take 6 months, maybe you are late for your grant application or for whatever other reason that you will have. Of course, metrics. Nowadays there is a mandate, at least in Europe, to publish open access, depending on the funding that you are receiving. So this is also something that you need to have in mind. And coming back to open access, hand by hand to open access, dubious journals came into the market. These are very dangerous. So these are basically journals that someone creates. They will be asking you to submit your papers. You will be charged. Most probably your papers will be accepted, but these journals will close after a few months when they got some money, and you won't get any citation. And this is not trivial. This actually happens. I left science like 5-6 years ago, and I still receive this type of emails. This is a real example. So here you can see that, they start, saying some nice words to you, basically in recognition of your eminence. My H index is not high at all, so I'm not an eminence at all. Recent scientific communication, dating back 5 years ago, I was working in health sciences. This is like, this is a full century. Then they advised me to send my latest research as an attachment. Now all the peer review process is done online with some platforms, so you won't send any communication via email. And then the editor looks a bit shy at he's not or she is not showing his or her name. Editors are very proud of their journals, are very proud of the work they are doing. You will always know who you are talking to. So if you receive a kind of email like this, be cautious, because if you send your article here, you won't be able to send it somewhere else, and you will lose a very nice chance. And again, it will have an impact in your CV. So be careful with this, because it actually happens constantly, every day. Okay, first thing, choose the right journal. If I can send you a message, this will be, and you will see it through the slides, read the guide for authors. Every journal is different. Every journal has different requirements, and the editors pay a lot of attention to that. So I'm showing some examples of Elsevier journal, but of course any other publisher will have, or good quality publisher will have a similar web pages. So here basically you need to focus in the aims of and the scope of the journal, so which kind of content they want to have included, and you have to check if your message really can be accommodated within these aims and scope. You can check the types of articles that they are publishing, and then compare them with yours and see if they are similar, and then you can send your article there. Sometimes you don't have just a full-length article. Sometimes you have a short communication. You can do a review, so you can also check in the journal web page the article types that you can find there. And if you have still doubts, for instance at Elsevier, but also other publishers, I think that they have similar tools. You have what is called Journal Finder. Here you basically type the title of your article, your abstract, some few keywords, and you select the field of research, and you will be sent a list of potential journals where you can submit your article, and then you can further explore them and decide whether they are good or not. I really recommend it if you have doubts. And of course, your colleagues working in the same field, your supervisors, can also help you, your librarians as well, of course. So you need to identify your right audience. So who are you talking to? It's not the same talking about humanities, about engineering, about medicine. So you really need to define that. And again, talk to your colleagues, to your supervisors, and maybe you have a more colorful idea of the audience that will receive your message. Unfortunately, your article most probably won't be accepted at the first time in the first journal. So the best thing you can do is just when you are thinking of potential journals, come up with a list and arrange it in the way you want to submit. If your article is accepted the first time, fantastic. Otherwise, you already have a backup plan as to continue submitting. Discuss this with your co-authors, of course, and make them all agree on that. And we are talking about co-authors now, so I'm going to give a brief peel on ethics. And this is the figure of the guest and the ghost author. I don't know if you are familiar with these concepts, but the ghost author is this author that fully contributed to the article, but then because of any reason, in most of the cases these are personal reasons, you as an author decide to remove it. You cannot do this. If someone has collaborated actively in your article, it needs to be noted. Guest author is the opposite. It's a very prominent person in the field that you probably do not know, but you include it in the list of authors because you think that your chances of getting the article accepted by the editors will increase. This is forbidden as well. This is completely unethical. Both authors, the guest and the ghost author, will definitely find this out because they are working in the same field as you are doing, as you do, and they will eventually find this paper where they contributed or they did not contribute and they are listed. So please, this will have an impact again because someone will send a letter to the editor, your article will be on hold, and changing the author list when the article is accepted is not easy. You really have to provide good reasons for that, and in some cases maybe your article will remain on hold, and it's a pity that so much effort is just there without any, just because this kind of unethical approaches. I'm sure that you won't do it, but if you observe anyone next to you, please let them know that this is not allowed. Write your article. The draft should be the real article. Think of the article. It's not because I start making some notes and then think of the article. Working in the lab is very nice. It's very energy consuming. We like it, and then we get to the writing part. We think, okay, this is not that important. At the end of the day, what counts is what you communicate to the public. So this is, if not more, as important as all the scientific work that you have been doing in your labs. And do not send your article to two journals at the same time. This is also forbidden. You can send your article to a first journal, and if it's taking too long, you can write to the editor and say, I want to withdraw it because I want to submit it to another journal, but never submit it to the same to two journals at the same time. And the editors will find, because the editors working for specific journals might be working as reviewers for other journals. So it's not the first time that an editor comes to you and say, hey, someone sent this article to this other journal. So in this case, again, this will have an impact, and probably you will be forbidden to submit to these journals for 3, 6 months, 1 year, depending on the policies of each different journal. And again, my main message, please read the guide for authors again and again. Well, you will find it everywhere. This is actually the core of this talk. So things that can be avoided and will increase the chances of your article to be accepted. This is a comment from an editor, and submissions are obfuscated. Authors didn't get the right for authors. There are no reviewers suggested, and proper use of the language. You resubmit your article without following the advice of the reviewers, and you are unpolite with the reviewers. Well, I think that we can avoid all these things. I mean, this is easy, and it's a pity that your article is rejected because of these reasons and not because of the scientific message that you are trying to convey. So, why to publish? Well, you can think of your PhD, get funding, get promoted, any other personal reason, but at the end of the day, what counts is the content. So basically, the editors will be exploring the scientific message you want to bring to the community. So your personal reasons, of course, are yours and are fine, but you really need to focus on the content of your article, on the message you want to send. And of course, if you want to succeed in what you are publishing, you really need to provide new data on hot topics and actually provide solutions to problems that are out there. So you really need to solve something. If you have some sort of positive answers to all these questions, then I think that we can remove the why, and then you are ready to submit your article. basically, this is another representation of the same. If you are having outdated work, if you are duplicating someone else's work, or if you have incorrect conclusions, your article won't be relevant for the audience and won't be accepted. At the end of the day, editors, as I mentioned before, they are proud of their journals and they want to have the latest knowledge included there. So this would be basically what you would be aiming for. So article needs to be strong and effective to get it published. And what makes your manuscript strong and efficient? Well, it needs to have a good content, and it has to be presented in a well-constructed manner, in a logical manner. And the most important thing, the significance must be easy to grasp. Don't let room for interpretation. Be as clear as possible. Send your message direct to the brain of the people who's going to read it, and don't give a lot of room for interpretation, because if this is the case, editors will get lost, will be a little bit confused, and write as direct as possible. Sending, well, I will come back to this just in a few slides. And again, editors are very busy. They don't want to waste their time, so they want to understand what they are reading just at a glance. They don't want to basically try to understand. Guide for authors. This is a real complaint of an editor. So basically what he's saying here is that he refuses to spend time trying to understand. Again, don't let room for interpretation. Just send direct messages. And I really want to send a message that they can't submit garbage and expect us to fix it. And then I don't waste my time if I find more than 6 grammatical errors in the abstract. Again, we can avoid all these things. And as you can imagine, with such a harsh message, this article won't be accepted ever at this specific journal. So this is basically what you need to focus on. Present it properly. Make it easier for the editors. Make it nice for the editors. And in order to do so, you need to write in the most clear way, in the more objective way, accurately, and with being brief, as short as possible. Sometimes we think that our message needs a lot of words. The fewer the words, the better for the message. I don't know if I said something about the guide for authors, but please pay attention and read the guide for authors. It's really important. Language. We communicate. Scientific language is another way of communicating. You don't talk the same to your father, to your children, to your colleagues, and here is the same. Scientific language is some sort of a special language. So try to be short and direct. Most of the scientific output nowadays is in English. Unfortunately, it's not our own language, which makes things a little bit more difficult. Writing short sentences will help you to have more clear structure in your minds. Send one piece of information per sentence. Don't start putting sentences one submitted to the other. And pay attention to punctuation. And punctuation can be important. It's not the same eating your grandfather that inviting your grandfather to it. So small details, they always count. So just a single comma can fully change the meaning of a sentence. So this is something to be considered. And again, don't use too many sentences that can make the understanding of your article very difficult. You are probably all familiar with this structure of the article. So basically, we represent it like a fish. The head of the fish would represent the title, the abstract, and the keywords. This is a very small area in the article, but it's extremely important. It's extremely important because it will be found by all databases. So you will always get access to the keywords, to the abstract, and to the title. And depending on your subscription, you will be able to read the rest of the manuscript or not. But everybody will access this, so you really need to focus there. It's a very small piece of your article, but it's really important. Then you have the main body of the article, which consists in basically introduction, methods, results, and discussion. Is what we call the IMRAD, and then you end up wrapping up with conclusion, acknowledgements, references, and supplementary data. References are also in general available, and I would recommend you that you work on your references. They will some sort of represent your article. If you have poor references in your article, editors will expect your article to be poor. If you have good references, so be mindful when writing your references. And this is again the general article structure, but of course it will change depending on the disciplines And again, this is just a full-length article, but you can also write a comment, a review, a short communication, and it will change. Again, go to the guide for authors, you will find relevant information there. I usually read articles this way. So first starting with the title, the abstract, then you read the conclusions. Is it interesting to me or not? Where it is, then I go to the introduction. Oh, the introduction is catchy, I can go ahead. So this is basically how I used to read the articles, but I would recommend you that when you write them, you use the other direction. Writing an article for me, it was a little bit like a painter starting to paint. You know, you have this white canvas, how to start. My recommendation is that you start with your figures and your tables. You should all be familiar with them. You have been working on them, and then you have something to rely on and to start working on. So from here, you can write the methods. I mean, the methods, you have done your experiments, so you are familiar with the methods. There's a lot of literature on them, so you can basically write your methods. Your text will be expanding, will be increasing, and your brain will be a little bit more encouraged to continue. You can write the results. They are very descriptive, so in general, they are not very difficult to be written. Discussion is a little bit more complex, and so on. Ending up with the title and the abstract, because again, title and abstract will be your business card for the business card for your article. So this would be my recommendation. Think of a wall and build it from bottom to top in this way. You start with the title. Once I heard someone, actually a poet, saying that poetry was saying the biggest amount of content with a little amount of words. Basically, this for me is actually the definition of a scientific title. So use not too many words, but the words need to represent what you want to convey, the message you want to convey. So make it short, identify the main issue of the article, and this is basically important. So you need to attract your readers. And then you can have catchy titles. If you are a little bit of a playful person and you like to play around with words and with sentences, you can use catchy titles. This is one article that I found once, Baffled by Bafilomycin. Bafilomycin is an antibiotic. Just the phonetics are very nice. I will always remember this article just because of the title. But when being playful, be careful, because you can go beyond the understanding of others. So every time you have a nice title in mind, please always confront it with your supervisors, with other colleagues, and ask them if they think that they really represent the content of your manuscript. Keywords. Of course, this is not the most relevant section of the article, but keywords will make people to find it. So again, be mindful when selecting the keywords. These are really something between 3 to 7 words that you really need to include in the article that represents your content and that will allow other people to find your research. Don't make them too general, because if you make them too general, your article will be lost in an ocean of articles. Don't make it too narrow, because otherwise no one will find them. What would be my trick here, or my tip? Have a look at keywords of other articles similar to yours, play around with them, and see what you retrieve. And depending on these results, you can think, okay, my keywords are properly defined or not. And then you go to the abstract as the last part of this, the last topic of this first area of the article structure. Again, basically, is open. It will strongly influence your audience and will encourage them to continue reading or not. Here, you also need to put your article a little bit in context, and basically what you need to do is answer 2 questions: what you have done and what are the main findings of your article. Basically, is answering or addressing these 2 questions, what you have to consider in your abstract. Then you come to the introduction, and then again, this is more like a guide for you, so you can go through the words, but basically you need to put your research in context. So you really need to talk about what has been done in the community. Again, you will need to use references here. Please use the highest quality references possible, and you will need to address all these questions. And my tip here would be that you go to the general to the specific. put your things in context, and then start narrow it down to your specific point of research. Well, methods. Basically, methods. Here you need to describe all the data necessary for anyone at any place to reproduce your results or to reproduce your experiments. So you have to provide data on have you been doing your experiment, which kind of material have you used, conditions. Don't use general conditions like room temperature. You have to be specific. You have to give numbers. So you need to explain control experiments and so on. So basically, this is about data collection and about data analysis. So this is what you need to include in your methods. Editors, in general, they are senior scientists. They are not that appealed by methods, but reviewers, they are. At a certain, and they work in the same field as you. So at a certain point, they will want to reproduce an experiment, and they want to have all the data there. So be as thoroughful as possible when providing your materials and your methods. Results. Well, again, be short. Long hours in the lab, lot of results, but you can only show this part here. You only need to show this part here. We all know that there is a huge amount of effort, huge amount of data, but just use the ones that really connect and represent your article. So main findings, not all the findings, but just the main findings. And again, this needs to flow. So in the introduction, you propose a hypothesis or a question. You select some materials and methods as to address it, and then you get some results. So it really needs to go in the same line. So don't start expressing results here that were not presented in the methods, for instance, or that are not represented in the introduction. Think of the article like a flow of information that go from A to Z. And of course, you need to provide well, statistical analysis, a description of the results, basically. And if your results differ from previous reported results, don't be shy, include them. I mean, trust your own results. We will come back to this later when talking about how to address the questions from the reviewers. Figures and tables, in my opinion, you should be able to understand what is said in an article just by having a look at the figures and the tables represented in the article. This should give you an idea. So basically, they should be self-explanatory, and basically, this sentence, "one picture is worth 1,000 words," would basically summarize this slide. So some tips, make them very clear. Have a look at the axes and the scales and sizes and so on. In principle, this graph is okay. I mean, it is clear. The axes are fine. There is a good proportion. It's nice, but it's a little bit complex. With a scatter plot, you could represent the same, and it would be easier for the editor to see. This is what I mean when being as clear as possible and not giving a lot of room for interpretation, or make it easy for the brains of the editor just to find what you want to show. Well, use the scale markers. In this case, I'm mentioning English. Of course, write your figures and your legends according to the language of your article. Most of the cases will be English, but in any case, and well, pay attention to small details because they can be important. And in the old days, when journals had a printed version, it was very expensive to print in color. So everybody would send their figures black and white. Nowadays, of course, we work in the internet world, so we will have access to color figures, but still there will be people printing them black and white. And there is a part of the population that is color blind. So if you are using red and green, they will be seeing it in the same color. So feel free to use color, but also look for triangles versus squares or versus circles, as for the people to be able to distinguish between your data sets. Might sound trivial, but it is important. And do not include long boring tables that are not that connected to the article. There is a supplementary material part that you can accommodate these figures. Discussion. The discussion is a very important area. Editors love the discussion part, because you can speculate a little bit with it. Again, references here are very important. So basically, as I'm mentioning here, is the place where you can sell your data. Again, is the last part of this flow that I was mentioning. So you really need to come back to the results, come back to the introduction, and basically explain thoroughly what you have found, how this relates to the literature, how make your field of expertise advance, and so on. If there is discrepancy between your work and the work of others, you shouldn't hide this. This is the area where you need to really explain why do you think this is the case, why are your results not aligning with previously published results, and so on. So this is really the place. Again, the editors love this part of your article, so put some effort here because it will be important. Sometimes everything is fine in your article, but a poor discussion might make the editor think that it's not that nice. And well, conclusions, just a couple of sentences where you need to present specific conclusions and maybe suggest how to continue your research. Research is never ending. I mean, you do some experiments and they open doors instead of closing. So they answer questions, but they open new questions. And again, well, do not summarize the paper and don't judge your own work. Let the others do. This is important. And references. Guide for authors is very important, and there is always a section showing you how to write the references. Different journals require different reference types. And again, editors, they work with references and they like to have them properly written. So pay attention. And my advice here is that you use reference managers because they will make your life far easier. They will save you hours, days, I would say even weeks. If you just think, well, we will be talking about Mendeley Reference Manager later, so we will be addressing some questions. And again, editors will pay a lot of attention to the styles. So my advice is that you use these reference managers. They allow you to retrieve information, to put sites in your article, to generate bibliographies, and the most important thing, to change the style. Again, if your paper is not accepted in the first journal, you will need to submit to a different journal, and this journal will have different rules for the references. You might be wondering why, but this is the case. There are more than 8,000 reference styles out there, so, and you can imagine that it's not easy to change. So italics, dots, commas, years, surnames, and so on. With one single click, you can reformat all your references. So my advice is that you use Mendeley, of course, but not seriously. Any of these reference managers, they are fantastic, and they will be very helpful for you when writing your article. And then there is an area, supplementary material. It's only, in general, is only available in the digital version, so online, and it's not printed next to your article. And this is the place where you can put a part of this lowest part of the iceberg. So all the data that you consider relevant to the article, but not as relevant as to be included in the main text, this is the place where you can put them. And then you need to present your article to the cover letter. And the cover letter is actually the chance to talk to the editor directly. Don't be shy. Be proud of your work. You are choosing a journal because of the reputation of the journal, because you are trustful that your article is very good. So be frank with the editor. For me, this is like the same as, I mean, if you have a musician that you like and then you have the chance to talk to him or to her, I mean, this is basically the same. So what makes your manuscript special, and why did you choose this specific journal? Well, something that you need to include in most of the cover letters is the final approval from all the authors. Author list is also important, as I have mentioned before. Why? Which kind of research you have been done? Why is it important for this journal? Why do you think it will enrich this journal? If you have been asked to suggest reviewers, this is also the chance or the place where you need to suggest reviewers. These are minor things, but they are important. And again, don't be shy. Of course, don't be arrogant either, but I mean, talk to the editors. They are human beings, and a nice cover letter will make a good impression, and your article will be seen with different and more positive eyes. Well, you need in some cases to suggest potential reviewers. Again, don't suggest your colleague next to you. Don't suggest someone that there is a conflict of interest with, or try to represent different areas in the world. Look for good reviewers. Again, the reviewing process is harsh, and we all want our articles to be accepted. But you know, if your reviewers are good, they will be giving you good advices, and they will definitely make your article better. And of course, editors will think of your reviewers, but they have their own pool, and they won't necessarily choose the reviewers that you are suggesting. But again, try to avoid any conflict of interest. Don't suggest a reviewer that you have been publishing articles with, even if it comes from a different institute or whatever. So basically, do everything you can as for your article to be accepted. Just trying to fulfill all these, let's say, rules, not scientific content, but just writing rules. What's going to happen next? You will send your article to the journal, editor will read it, and then there are initially two options. Your article can be accepted. If this is the case, really, really congratulations, because only around 3% of the articles are accepted without any revision. So just celebrate it, because you should be proud. But as you can see, 40 to 90% of the times your article will be rejected by the editor because it didn't fulfill what we have been talking about now, or because the scientific content is poor, or because the scope of your article is not the same of the journal. So again, it happens to everybody. Just imagine 40 to 90%. Try to understand why. Reviewers or editors might give you some tips on how to improve it, and try to think of your article in a critical way. We always think that we are writing the best article in the world, but we need to be critical to ourselves, as to be mindful and make it better. So if you take this into account, maybe we can go from this red rejected situation to a more green, positive and hopeful one. There is another option. The option is that first decision is major or minor revision. These are very good news. If your article, if the editor comes back to you saying that you are being asked by a major or minor revision, this means that the chances of getting your article published in this specific journal are really high, in both cases, major and minor. Major revision, of course, will require more work from you. You will have probably to repeat some experiments. You will have to rephrase your text, change figures, change tables. But according to the comments of the reviewers and the editor, of course. But if you think that these comments are fair and that they will make your article better, definitely put some effort here, because you are already in the journal. So this is good. And of course, minor revision is just maybe some changes in the text, maybe adding a few experiments, but this is very easy. Here, you have to think, okay, I'm going to put some effort because I have the chances to get it accepted, so I really need to work hard. Here, don't be very confident. I mean, the fact that it's a minor revision, your chances are very high, but still, you need to amend a couple of things and do it according to the comments of the reviewer. So basically, this is important. You are there, very close to acceptance, but not yet there. So don't relax at this moment, because it's a pity. You are almost there. So basically, at this point, you are here. So your article was assigned reviewers. Reviewers gave some recommendations. In this case, it's major or minor revision. The editor would collect these comments from the reviewers, would check if they are fine or not, and will send you a letter asking you to revise your paper. So this is where you are, and then you come back to this original place. But of course, this is a little biased because you are already more in the inside of the journal. So basically, well, again, you will have a list of things here, but these three rules are very important. So answer completely, answer politely, and answer with evidence. Completely, of course, politely, and politely is included here because again we have this view of the reviewers as our enemies, and sometimes we overreact when we get bad comments from them. Again, they want to make your scientific message better. And answer politely, because if you disagree with the reviewers, you have the right to. So when you want to say to the reviewer, I'm not taking into account your comment because of this and that, try not to be harsh, not to be defensive. Just try to explain why. But you should do. If you disagree with them, they are also human beings. They are part of the scientific community, and science is about this, about discussions, about comments, about confronting. So if you follow these 3 rules, I think that you are in a good way. So basically, I think that what you can do, you receive the comments from the reviewers. There will be several comments. Copy-paste them all and address them one by one. And avoid things like, I have taken into account all your comments and have been included in the text. No, you really need to address point by point what you have been doing, what your changes have been. And again, if you disagree with something, I won't do these experiments that you are suggesting, Mr. Reviewer, because of whatever. Again, you have the right to. And the editor will make the final decision. So you don't need to convince reviewers. You need to convince the editor. The editor will have the comments from the reviewers, your own comments, his wealth of experience and knowledge, and he will come up with a decision. So it's the editor who you need to convince, and not the reviewers. Of course, reviewers are important players in this field as well. So, and again, don't consider them to be your enemies. They are your friends, and actually you want to publish in that journal, so you don't want to publish with your enemies, right? So why to run the risk of avoidable rejection by not taking manuscript revision seriously? Again, a lot of points. Some of them are more psychological than knowledge-based. Be cold-minded, be quiet. If you think today is not the day, just put it in your drawer, wait a couple of days, come back to your article, talk to your colleagues. So be calm. Being calm is very important. And again, I want to emphasize this because sometimes we think that reviewers are always right, they are better than we are, and we take all the comments and that's it. No, discuss because this will make science definitely better. And of course, stick to the guide for authors and respect word count, styles, and so on. Talk to your supervisors, talk to your colleagues, and make this like a nice journey. Because what for sure is happening that editors are looking to accept, looking forward to accept your article. They want good content in their journals, and they want good articles. So if your article is good, they will be proud of accepting it. So now it's time for question. Guide for authors. Please stick to the guide for authors. Why I'm putting here this picture of the M&Ms. And this has to do with the guide for authors. Sometimes you think, why every single guide for author is different to the other? Why there are different styles, different references, different, because editors like their journals. The story with the M&Ms, you might be familiar with a rock band from the 80s, Van Halen. So Van Halen, when writing their contract, somewhere in the contract, they were asking for a bowl of M&Ms in their dressing room. And they wanted to have all the M&Ms there, but not the black ones. They wanted all the colors, but not the black ones. And you could think that, artists, they are arrogant, they have this small capriccio and so on. But actually, this was not the case. If they were entering this room and there were no M&Ms, this would mean that no one read the contract. If they find M&Ms, but there are black M&Ms represented, someone read the contract a little bit like in diagonal, right? So not very properly. So if you didn't take this into consideration, can I trust your safety measures? Can I trust all the money transactions? So basically, the M&Ms is the guide for authors. Editors want to know that you are choosing this journal because you have a good reason for it. So this is basically it. So guide for authors, they are all different, but this is just because editors want some sort of respect towards their journal. So, contact details, you will find them also in the slide deck. This will bring you to a short survey, and you can get a certificate also. I'm really thankful that you are all here, and I'm open to any questions that you might have, open discussion, or whatever you consider to be convenient. So thanks so much for your time. And don't be shy. Don't be shy responding to reviewers. Don't be shy asking questions now, sharing your thoughts. Did you ever write an article? And was it good? I mean, it got accepted. It was difficult. You're in the second one now.
Yes, I'm submitting tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay, good luck with it. Was it a good experience? The first.
From submission until acceptation, yes, it was very good experience.
Okay.
It was easier than I thought.
You had to repeat some experiments, but still. Or it was.
It was a minor and the major. The minor had the most work that I needed to do. The major was easier.
Okay.
So it was 15 days of work altogether. So it was good.
It's very nice. It's good. And any experience as reviewers yourself, maybe, or because this is another interesting position, just being there, because we are always doubtful as authors, but as reviewers, I can tell you that you are also doubtful, because you don't know if these people, so it is. The editor is the person, with the most knowledge, and that they are in general very secure. But both reviewers, authors, we are always navigating.
Hello. First of all, thank you for this beautiful presentation.
Thanks to you for being here.
I would like to ask, how is it possible to write a cover letter and include some suggested reviewers while showing that they're not your past colleagues, or
They are, sorry?
they are not past colleagues, the suggested reviewers. So you actually want to suggest them because you respect them for their work, and it's not something that you do for your benefit.
How can they trust you?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
how can you say that in a brief cover letter? How can you make your case?
If, in principle, if you are asked to suggest reviewers, the only thing you need to do is just to provide names and an email address. This is all what you need to do. You don't need to actually explaining why you are choosing these reviewers might not be beneficial, because the editor can think, why is this person explaining so thoroughly why this reviewer? So they will check. They know the community very well. They read papers constantly, so they know the names. They know, and then there are tools there that allows you to track all the authors, all the reviewers. Again, they have their own pool, and that they will be using it. But I won't be very. I won't give a lot of explanations why you are choosing these reviewers, because they will be checking. Same as suggested reviewers. You can also mention opposed reviewers that you don't want your article to be reviewed by, and there you might need to explain why. And of course, you cannot come with a list of 10 names, because then your research is doubtful why this person has so many problems. But if you are suggesting 2 opposed reviewers, you might need to explain why, because they are working in the same topic, because there is a lot of competition here, whatever you consider. But don't come up with a very long list, because otherwise you would be suspicious of doing something.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to you. But being a reviewer is another interesting journey. It's time-consuming, but of course you are confronting with the latest scientific outcomes of your field of research. I don't know if we started a little bit late. No, but it's okay, it's still on time. It was shorter than expected. Okay. People online, they cannot ask any question, or people connected. Okay. Okay, no, just for me to know if there was Any other question or any other?
I don't have access to that. So.
Okay, no, good.
No, I don't see any.
Which are your fields of expertise?
I'm in paleontology.
Very interesting. And in paleontology, the structure of the articles is similar to this, and yes, yeah.
I have already one publication, but I'm not really proud of it. So,
And why?
because we had editors, and they wanted to publish in a journal that I wasn't really.
You didn't like it that much,
No,
or?
no. That's why. This is the only
But
reason.
were you the first author, or?
No, the third one.
Okay, yeah, because sometimes it's the first author or the last author who decides the journal. But again, when you are writing an article, you need to present this pipeline of journals, and everybody needs to agree on that.
But when you have older people than you, that they're strict to some.
Yeah.
Yes, you know what I mean.
Yes, it's not only about age; it's also about position. But yeah, definitely, it makes things difficult. Relationship between, for instance, PhDs or supervisors or postdocs and supervisors is also another topic of discussion, because sometimes people consider that it's just a name. Sometimes they really contribute. So, yeah, and again, this is the reason why it's very important the list of authors. Actually, now for some journals, you cannot just list the authors. You have to say what was the contribution of each.
Yes.
And for instance, editing the text is not a reason good enough as to include someone in the list of authors. If someone provided you with a reagent, for instance, is not. You have the acknowledgement sections where you can acknowledge the help from others, but you really need to contribute. And actually, as a co-author, you should be able to defend this article as good as the first author or the last author. I mean, this is your article as well. So, yeah, the list of authors is something really important. I mentioned before that correcting the list of authors once that the article is published is really, really difficult, and you really need to provide good reasons for it. If the revision has been long and you might have need to do some more experiments, you maybe needed to get in touch with some other people that helped you to do this. That would be a good reason to incorporate a new author to the list of authors. It's very difficult to remove some, because I mean the article is done already, so why now you are removing this person? So, and again, everything, of course, is not the same, the discussion and the keywords, but the end of the process of experimenting, this transition from experimenting to writing, is always hard, and we think that okay, this is writing, is just reporting, it's not that important, but actually this is really, really important, because it's what will stay with us. The rest is going to be in your drawers, in your notebooks, in your computers, but what people will be accessing is your published article. And again, there is as I mentioned, there are more than 20,000 titles. We all want to publish in the highest or the top journals in our fields, but again, you really need to be realistic on what you have in your hands, how important it is, and again, publish where you consider the highest within the range of being conscious about it.
Thank you.
And there's another thing about the vouchers that some journals give to the authors. Are you aware of that?
Vouchers. Are you talking about transformative agreements, maybe, and similar?
I've just heard of it. I mean, they're giving
Yeah, some discounts or, well, actually, I think that in Greece now there is some sort of a these are called transformative agreements. So basically, this has to do with the model of publishing. So in general, publishers would talk to the libraries, would sell some titles, and then this is by subscription. So you, as an author, won't need to pay to publish them. And I'm thinking open access now. under subscription. Now there are open access mandates. I mean, you might get a grant from the European Union, and the European Union now considers that all science should be made open for everybody. So in such a way that everybody needs to access it without having to pay. If you want to publish open access articles, you really need to choose for journals that have this option, and most of them they do. There are journals that are only called open access, so they only publish open access content, and there are some others that are called hybrid. Hybrid, they have content under subscription, but also content in open access. And you will need to pay as an author. So depending on the arrangements or the agreements between the publisher and the institution, you might get discounts or actually publish for free your open access article. But this will depend on the negotiations that happen between the libraries and the universities and the institutions and the publishers. And then if you are publishing, for instance, in Spain, if you now publish on a hybrid journal of Elsevier in open access, you will get full discount, not full discount, full coverage for your article. If you want to publish in a gold open access journal, you will get a 10% discount. But again, it depends really in the negotiations between the publishers and the institutions. And the discounts in general, I mean, unless we are talking about low or middle income countries where there are special policies again, in general, as an author, if you are going to publish under subscription, you will never have to pay. If you want to publish open access, depending on how the situation in your territory is, it will change. But publishing under subscription won't cost you any money as an author. Also important to mention regarding peer review, now all the peer review process again is done online. Everything is recorded. All the communication between reviewers, editors, authors, and so on is tracked, and this is very robust because you can always come back to all the comments, and so this is very clear. I remember when I started, I look like the grandfather, but when I started sending papers, this was done by a normal post. So basically, you would print 5 copies of your article, put it in 5 envelopes, send it to the journal by a post. Then the editor would need to send 1 copy to one reviewer, another copy to another reviewer, one for himself. The reviewers do the same. So it was really a time-consuming process. And nowadays, I think that the time to deal with your article has shrunk so much that it also allows to increase the scientific output in such a astonishing manner sometimes. I mean, every year is more and more the amount of articles that are out there. So these tools are helpful, and be also mindful of the ethical aspects. For instance, like plagiarism. Sometimes you're writing an introduction. Basically, we all work in the same topic, so an introduction could be used for a second article. Don't do it. Don't even plagiarize yourself. Every single article is an entity by itself, so treat it with respect. And this feeds back to these editorial systems as to do the peer review process. There are tools like cross-check. Basically, your article will be confronted with millions of other articles looking for text overlap, and it will be found. So basically, if you are copy-pasting someone else's work or your own work, it will be really detected. And of course, I mean, you will be criticized because you are using plagiarism, which is of course not allowed. And there is one single click takes 2 seconds, and again, your article will be confronted with millions of articles. And it's really impressive because these software tools, they will tell you which part of the text you are copying with which article, and so there will be a connection. And of course, it's not the same copy-pasting in the methods than in the discussion or in the introduction, or copying yourself. But again, if you can avoid it, just do it. I remember while working for this journal, Vaccine, once we received an article, and this article had like 90% of text overlap with previously published work. As an editor, if you see this, of course, this would be immediate rejection and a warning note, you know, like you cannot do this. But then when this tool allows you to do a deeper analysis, and what we saw is that there were single sentences copied from maybe 200 different articles, so there was not a single paragraph. So what we found out is that these people were not managing or handling properly English. This was the problem. So they basically needed to extract information that would represent their message from here and there. So there was 90% of text overlap, but this went to the editor. I don't know if it was finally accepted or not, but I mean, it's not just running the test and say 90% score, no, reject. You have to give a deeper insight into it, but still this software is used, and if you are copy pasting big pieces of text, you will be detected, and again, your reputation will have some sort of a mark. I could keep on talking, but yes, please.
What did you say? I think that would be a good point for us time to start considering becoming a reviewer. Considering becoming a reviewer as one progresses in their career.
Considering to be
becoming a reviewer.
Well, in general, it can happen in different ways. Sometimes I think that, in general, as a postdoc, I think it's a good moment to start working as a reviewer. In some cases, your supervisor, he or she might be him or herself an editor of a journal, and he probably will invite you. Hey, we have received this article. Do you want to review it or not? So I think this would be a good moment, first or second year of a postdoc. There are a lot of tools and resources in all the publishers with tips and tricks on how to do proper reviews. There's a full wealth of information about the peer review process, things that you need to consider, how to do it properly. It's a little bit of hard work, it's time consuming, but it's really a good learning and a good training. And well, if you finally make it through your scientific career, having been a reviewer makes you closer to be an editor. And I mean, if you like to be really involved in science, it's a very interesting path. Of course, there is always a debate about rewarding reviewers, payments, and so on. But this is a difficult topic and probably a different type of discussion that we can also address it. But
I was focusing on experience.
I think that
I'm covered.
I think that as a PhD student, you are still not experienced enough as to generally, but there are really remarkable PhD students. So, but as for myself, I wouldn't have felt comfortable reviewing as a PhD. As a postdoc, I reviewed a couple of papers, and still you are doubtful, because. So I think that with some supervision, first, second year of postdoc, and of course, again, it's like with everything, with some training, you improve, and get better, and so if you have the chance, just it's nice. You are in the other side, right? So because again, I was an author, and I was always on that side, and I was thinking that the editors, publishers, so on. And once that you step into the other side, you start to think that okay, you were not completely right, they were not completely wrong, and it's more like a balanced, let's say.
Thank you.
How easy it is here to make a scientific career? Is it very? There is a lot of competition, little places, little funding. What's your perception of?
I think it mainly depends on the field. There are many differences between one field and another. So I myself belong to the statistics sector, and I think it is not too difficult.
It has to do with data management, and
yes.
There's a lot of data now.
but I have no idea for other sectors, so perhaps someone else would like to.
But you sound optimistic in your field, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
but just for statistics. So.
Well, actually, this is something that, for instance, in my city, in order to access some faculties, you really need to have a very, very good rate, very good marks in your, and highest was always medicine. I don't know why, but because actually medicine, being a doctor now is not such a pleasant work as it used to be like 40 years ago. So medicine was always in the top, and it still is in the top. When I was studying, I think it was around 30 years ago, no one would like to study mathematics or physics. There were like 20 students per room, the rest of the faculties maybe 150. In the last 30 years now, physics and mathematics in my institutions is the first, the top, and the second one is medicine. And I think this really shows or represents how society is changing, where are we moving towards, because now it's about data analytics, management, big data management, artificial intelligence, and so on. So I think that what you are saying is really relevant. There are specific topics where you will find more funding. I was working in the health sciences, and within health sciences, cancer was one of the topics where you would get the highest amount of funding. So yeah, I think it's really depending on the topic. At 1, if I am correct, I will be presenting Mendeley Reference Manager, which is one of the reference managers in the market. You are all welcome to come and see their functionalities and how it works. And well, you have also my contact details there. Feel free to write me if you have any doubt about this author workshop or anything. And again, I will share the slide deck with Erasme, and she will upload it, I guess, to the repository. Or
In the link το link που υπάρχει στην ανακοίνωση θα μπορείτε να βλέπετε και ξανά την παρουσίαση για οτιδήποτε χρειάζεστε. Δηλαδή θα παραμείνει το link και θα είναι στις ανακοινώσεις μας.
It's streaming now through the YouTube channel of the university, so the presentation, the video will be on the site, on the YouTube channel, so you can access it.
But also besides the video, if they want to have just the slides,
I think
this is
the
what
slides together, it's synchronized.
Okay. Thanks to you. Thanks for coming. No, please, no. Thank you. You are too kind. Your language is very difficult. a Mendeley reference software, a reference manager software from Elsevier. It's called the Mendeley Reference Manager, and basically I will show you how you can use this tool as to find articles or sites for your articles, how to organize your library, how to insert sites in your text documents, how to make bibliographies, and also how to make annotations, how to share your articles and your annotations with some collaborators, how to create groups. So, well, basically, this is a little bit the layout of the presentation. So first of all, how to build and organize your references, how to this is like an empty room, like a library. So first of all, we need to fill it up with content, with articles in this case. Then we need to organize them, to put them in the proper shelves as to find them properly. And then we need to use them to insert our sites and generate our bibliographies. So basically, I will show you how to organize your library, how to read and annotate, because there is also some sort of Adobe reader that you can use as to make annotations, sticky notes, and so on, how to cite in your Word documents, and how to collaborate in groups with your peers, with your colleagues, and so on. So Mendeley is free. There are two versions, one that you can install for free in your computer and one that you can use online. They look almost exactly the same. There is a small difference, but almost exactly the same. And that's why, as I was mentioning before, this new version is replacing the former Mendeley desktop. So if you are used to work with Mendeley desktop, you will appreciate some differences with this new tool. The team designing Mendeley wanted to make a coherent structure that it is robust, so that the appearance of the online version is the same as the one that you can install in your computers, and you can install it in your computer or not. I mean, it will eventually work if you have the online version. It's not really necessary to have the desktop application. So the first thing that you need to do is just go to mendeley.com and create a free account. Again, it's for free. You will need to give a username, a password, and then it's just one single click. For some institutions, there are Mendeley Institutional Edition. I don't know if you are familiar with, but basically it's the same. So you can have an account and you will have more storage capacity, but this is something that depends on your library. So I'm not exactly sure. Christian might know.
Previous 2017, we had a 500 institutional
edition.
licenses for
Okay.
Mendeley, but no.
Okay. Well, as a personal user, you will have access to all the functionalities, and you will be able to manage and handle the application to his full extent. So first of all, just create an account.
If we have an account in Elsevier, we could use the same, or we have to create a new?
In principle, you should be able to use your own account. Yeah. It's about invitation, and for this you really need to check to take emails and drop them in a box, and that's it. So, of course, we always advise to use the institutional accounts, not Gmail, Hotmail, or so on, just for consistency. But still, you could invite members with any domain in the connection. Sorry.
As far as storage allowance, the personal account.
No, with institutional, the storage is higher, exactly, yeah, up to 100 gigas, if I am correct. I think it's 2 gigas for personal one. And also, when you work in groups, with the personal or private, let's say, you can accommodate 25 members per group. If you use the institutional edition, I think it's unlimited, or, well, unlimited. There's always limits, but almost unlimited. So again, you can basically access the reference manager by accessing mendeley.com, as I showed you before, but you can also, and this will bring you to the online tool, but you can also download Mendeley by following this link, and it will get along with any browser, basically. So I accessed this screenshot from Chrome, if I am correct, or a PC, of course, but you can also have the options to install it in your Mac or whatever. So it will work with all the browsers and with all that, all operative systems that are available. Okay, sorry. Mendeley Web Importer, so Mendeley consists of several tools. So there is Mendeley Search that allows you to search for articles online. Mendeley Reference Manager, which is basically the core of the reference manager, and here is where you can basically handle your library, your resources, organize your articles, and so on. Then you have Mendeley Web Importer. Mendeley Web Importer, what it does is detecting PDFs in web pages, allowing you to incorporate this into your libraries. I will explain in detail Mendeley Web Importer, but with this slide I just wanted to show you how to install it. Again, if you go to mendeley.com, you will find all the links to all the installation applications and so on. And there is a fourth tool, which is Mendeley Cite, that is a plugin that you install in your Word that will allow you to insert cites in your document and generate bibliographies. I will go through all of this in the next slides. But basically, there are several ways to access the web importer. You can do it from the web page. If you have installed Mendeley Reference Manager in your computer, you will find this ribbon. This is the only cosmetic difference between the desktop application and the online version. In the desktop application, you have this ribbon with file, edit, tools, and help. In the online version, this is not there, but it's somewhere else. So from here, you can also install Mendeley Web Importer, or in the extension store of your browser. It should be very easy to install. And you will see an icon in your browser with the logo of Mendeley that will give you access to the content and the PDFs in the web pages. So, as I mentioned, the first thing we need to do is to generate our library, and in order to do so, we first need to sign in. As it is explained, it is explained here. It's very easy. You just type your username, you will type your password, and then you will be directed to the main screen of Mendeley, where you will have access to your library and to your data. It's just very easy, and well, you will come here, and then basically you have this search engine that will allow you to search for documents, and then you will have access to your library, and then you will have access to your own account here. So basically, this is what you will find when you log in into the application. And this is what you will be finding. So now you are in Mendeley Reference Manager, and this is basically the layout that you will be using or dealing with. And I will be explaining all different features of all these different areas of the software. So first of all, building a library. Okay, this is the layout of the tool. Basically, and if you are familiar with iTunes or other platforms, it looks the same. So it's basically a hierarchical structure, three columns. The most important one, let's say, or is the left one, the leftmost one. Here you have all the folders, all the collections that contain all your references. Depending on where you are here, you will be seeing the content included in any of these folders, collections, or groups. And then, following this hierarchical structure, if you click on one of the references, you will get to the info panel, and then you will get all the information where all the metadata of your articles are. The metadata is what will be used by the system to generate references. So it is very, very important that all the data here are properly written and properly spelled. And you can edit all these fields. If you see something that is not correct or whatever, you can edit all these fields, change the type of article, the abstract, add files. You can add any file to your article. You can add images, videos, sound, whatever. The only format that can be opened by Mendeley itself are PDFs. The rest you can open with whatever other software you might need, but with Mendeley Reference Manager you can open only PDFs. Then if the article is available, you can also access it and read it. So again, three structures, all the folders here in the leftmost. In the center, you will see the articles included in the folder selected by you. And in the right side, if you select one of the references, you will have the info panel with all the information relevant to build the reference. Mendeley, differently to Mendeley Desktop, now everything is cloud-based. So all the articles are in the cloud. You don't need to store them in your computer. Of course, if you want, you are welcome to generate folders and install them. But in principle, all the information, you can retrieve it in the web. And this allows, of course, a very nice and fast communication between your desktop application and the web version. And actually, this is a feature that has improved a lot. Some time ago, with Mendeley Desktop, you had to synchronize the tool yourself manually. You had to click, and if you wouldn't click, your changes wouldn't be saved. Now synchronization is automatic. Every 2 or 3 seconds, if you do something in your desktop application, it will be represented in the online version, and the other way around is also true. So again, everything is cloud-based, is based in the cloud. And this has some implications. Actually, when you had Mendeley Desktop and you wanted to search for information within your articles, you would type it in a search box and you would immediately find it. This is because it was searching in your library of the articles in your computer. Now it needs to search in the cloud for basically exploring 50 million of articles. So, for instance, this functionality is not available anymore. I'm telling this for former desktop users because you won't find this in this new tool, and this is the reason why. That now everything is stored in the cloud. So, first thing we need to do is just to populate our library, and this we can do it by different means. So I'm presenting you here now one of them. You have a PDF in your computer, so the only thing that you need to do is just to go to the folder where you have the PDF, select it, drag it, and drop it in your library, and then it will be. You will find it. You will find your article already included there in a reference mode, let's say, so it can generate a reference out of that article already because all the metadata are included in the PDF. Then there are some other ways to add articles to your library. You can add files from the computer, as I have just either as I have shown you, or by selecting this option. So this will open a folder, and then you can select and insert them in your library. You can add an entry manually, just typing the metadata, or you can actually import a full library from other reference managers that you might have in different formats. This would allow you to incorporate as many documents as you want in just one go. And then we come back to Mendeley Web Importer. Another way to populate your library is getting resources from the internet. If you're working medicine, from PubMed or from ASSRN or from any database that you would like. So basically, you have the extension in your browser represented with this logo. If you are in one of these searching engines and you type and you click on the logo, this will show, and basically it will detect the metadata of all the PDFs included in the web page. And furthermore, and I think this is nice depending on the discipline, you will also get a reference to the web page where you are in. For some disciplines like architecture, a lot of people are working with blog pages, so you can get the reference also always at the end of the list when clicking here. So basically, when you click here, metadata of PDFs will be detected, and you will get a list here, and then you can select them and add them to your library directly. So this is another way to extract or retrieve documents from the internet. So once that you have found the articles, once that Web Importer have detected all this PDF and generated all the metadata, what can you see? So you can select a specific collection, a specific folder within your library where you want to add your document to. Of course, you can select the reference, you can click on it, and then you can edit the metadata. Again, it's very important that all the data are correct in order to have proper references. And if the article is available, you can also view the PDF here. When you click on the PDF, and again, we are in a specific searching web page, the article will open. And from here, you will be given the option of adding it to Mendeley directly. So you can do it by selecting here and adding it to your library, but also if you go to the PDF when available, you will have the option to add the article. Maybe you are here and then you have just a title, so you want to really know if this is an interesting reference or not. So you need to open the file, read, and then this is the reason why you are offered also the option to add to your library from here. So basically, this is all that has to do with populating your library, so creating content in your library. You have also the option to export your library to other reference managers, or just to generate reports on what you have in your library. And basically, you do this by going to File, Export All, and then choose any of these options. Again, look at the ribbon here. We are in the desktop application. If you want to export your reference from the online version, you will need to do something different. I will show you later, but this is basically the only difference between the both versions, the online one and the one installed in your computer. So basically, we have now a library. It's full of books. We have the room, it's full of books, and we need now to put them in the proper shelves as to be able to access them easily and in a meaningful way. So basically, this is what we have. We are going to focus actually in the leftmost panel, where we have all the folders. They used to be called folders. Now naming sometimes is a little bit posh, I would say, so now they are called collections, but they basically represent folders. And in Mendeley, they come into flavors. Ones that are set up by default, you cannot change anything there, and some that you can customize at your best convenience. In the first one, the former, you have initially all references. So all your references, all the references in your library will be here, all of them, irrespective of where they are in folders. All of them will be included here. You will have a folder with the references that have been added in the last 30 days in order to access the latest content that you uploaded to your library easily. Reference that you have opened in the last 30 days. Reference that you have tagged as a favorite, that you can do it manually here. Publications, your own publications. So if you have an Scopus profile with your publications, they will be immediately included in this folder. This means that only those publications of you that are included in Scopus will be represented. You cannot add anything manually here, so only those publications. And you can also see all the references that you have deleted. This means that if you delete one reference from all references, it will disappear from here, but it will still be in the trash, in such a way that if you want to permanently delete it, you have to delete it from this folder. You can take some actions here. You can show references that are read or unread. You can mark them as favorites. You can see whether they have PDFs included and available or not. And you can use these column headings to sort the reference by author, by year, by title, when they were added, and the source. So this makes the system some sort of flexible when trying to access some content. And then you have what we call custom collections. Custom collections basically are collections that you design at your own benefit or at your best convenience, as I said. So basically, you can create folders or collections, as many as you want, with sub-collections. So you can create collections within collections, infinitely, let's say, or theoretically. And here you can include the articles that were represented in all reference, but in a structured manner. So if you are working in different projects with different groups, you can create different collections where to include all the references. Important to note here is that so when you're creating a collection and adding references from the main list of references, you are actually not moving the reference from the all reference folder to any of this folder. You are basically giving a tag to to the article in such a way that the system understands that besides belonging to all references, it also belongs to any of this specific collection. And this is important because if, because of anything, by error, by mistake, you delete the whole collection here, you won't lose your references. You will lose the tag and the collection, but all the references will still be available under the All References tab. So, because sometimes it happens, you delete it by mistake, and then you lost all the material, so this doesn't happen. And again, it has to do also with this cloud-based system. The way to create a collection is very straightforward. You click here, and you are offered to type the name of the collection you are interested in, and the new collection will be created. If you click, if you right-click on any of the collections, you will be given the option of create a sub-collection within that specific collection. Metadata, again, is what the system extracts from the PDFs and are all the important and relevant data in order to make a citation in your article. This is the info panel. So you are in all references. You have selected one of the references, and then the info panel opens. And again, all the fields are populated automatically, but it is your responsibility to check that everything is properly included. You can add tags also. This will make your life easier when trying to find the specific a specific reference. Of course, if you are writing a review, for instance, and you are handling hundreds of references, it's nice to have tags in order to find them and retrieve them back in an easy way. You can add files, as I told you before, as I have mentioned. You can add any type of file, but you could only open from Mendeley Reference Manager PDF files. Well, you can also use identifiers. So if you know the DOI, for instance, you go to this to this lens, and then you can type the DOI, and you will find the article, and all the metadata will be populated. And then you can decide whether or not you want to share this reference with the Mendeley repository. And here you are sharing just the metadata, so the data that allow you to generate a reference, but you are not sharing the the whole article, the PDF, or any associated file, just the metadata. So it's your decision to share it or not. If you are not sharing it, someone else might be sharing it. So the fact that you do not share it doesn't mean that it is not belonging to one of these 50 million articles that are included to be referenced in Mendeley data. And of course, you do this anonymously, and I mean your personal data do not have anything to do here with this sharing. I told you before that there were just a minor difference between the online version and the web version, and as you can see now, we are in the online version, as we do not have this uppermost ribbon. So you have all that you had here in the desktop version. You have it here in which is called the action panel. From there, you can add articles to a collection or group. For instance, if you click on several articles and you go to organize, you can add these articles to any specific collection that you might want to choose, or to any specific group that you might also want to choose. And of course, and also from here you can mark your reference as favorite or not, and you can export. The export functionality that we had it in the uppermost ribbon is here in the action panel, but again, this is the only difference between both versions. Again, sometimes you are handling hundreds of references, and it's not easy to find the one that you want to include in your test. So you can search here and also filter by using these filters, and you will filter by author, year, title, year, source, and so on. So this will basically allow you to retrieve references in an easy way. Here you can type the text that you are looking for, that will bring you to your reference, and the main view will change according to what you are typing. So as you type, for instance, hypoxia, all the articles containing the word hypoxia will be in the uppermost part of the screen. I wanted to mention something here. Something very important, and this is very important, is that you need to know where you are searching. Sometimes you are searching a specific concept and the system doesn't show any result, and you know that the reference is there, but why the system is not finding? Maybe it's because you are in a different folder, so in the folder where your reference is not included. So please bear in mind that always the system will search in the specific collection where you are. So if you want to find for sure one article, just select all references and it should be there. Otherwise it's not included in your library. So this is important because sometimes you cannot find your reference, and it's because you are just in a different folder, in a different collection, and not in the where you are supposed to be. And again, as I mentioned before, this will be the criteria that Mendeley Reference Manager will be taking into account in order to provide your references. Okay, there is another function in Mendeley Reference Manager, is the reading annotating function. And as I have just mentioned, the only type of files that can be opened from Mendeley Reference Manager are PDF documents. So if you click on one of those documents, you will basically get to this kind of layout, which is very familiar to most of you, I'm sure. It looks like Adobe Acrobat. And here you have very simple, very straightforward functionalities. So you can highlight, you can put the sticky notes, select a color, and change some settings in the screen, basically. Here, this was the info panel where all the metadata was. Next to it, you have the annotations. So how does this work? So basically, just as a brief, you can see highlights here, and you can see sticky notes here. The sticky notes, basically, you can type ideas, and those ideas will be represented in your annotations. And the highlights is the same as if you are using a marker on a paper-printed version of your article. To highlight, the only thing you need to do is just to select with your pointer the string of text that you want to highlight, and immediately you will be offered the option to highlight it. So you can decide whether or not you want to highlight. The sticky notes, you need to right-click on the position of the article that you are interested in, and then you can type a comment and say, so you here, everything you write will be visible here. If you click, just imagine that you scroll down because you continue reading the article. If you click on this sticky note, you will be sent to the article, to the area of the article where this sticky note is, which is very convenient. You can change the color, and you can do something else. We had info, we had annotations, and then we have a notebook. The annotations are article specific. So if you go to this tab, you will only see annotations related to a specific article. In the notebook, however, you can make notes and share ideas and write comments on several articles at the same time. As you can see here, you can open as many articles as you want, and you will have them all represented in your main screen. So basically, you can you can give a title to your I'm going to put all this because I think it's more convenient. So basically, you can create a new note. Again, this has to do with having together articles with the same aiming, working in the same project, with the same concepts, and so on, and working on all of them at the same time. Just imagine that you are writing an article, you are basing all your research in 20 articles. You can have them all included in one single notebook, and you will be able to navigate through all those articles by navigating through the sticky notes, annotations, and so on. Basically, what you need to do to include your highlights, your notes, your annotations in the notebook, you go to a specific highlight, and then you use the left button in the mouse. This is important because we are all used to use the right one to open anything, but in this case you need to use the left one, and then you will be offered to delete your annotation, to change the color, or to add your annotation to your notebook. So it will be copied verbatim to this notebook. You can add notes yourself manually. Again, if you click in any of these annotations, you will be brought to the area of the article where this annotation is, and well, and you are again flexible to type whatever you want, or to extract pieces of text verbatim from the article. And again, you can add a note yourself by typing. So basically, this is what the reading and annotation functionalities of the tool, and we can go through them later if you want. I have the online version open here, so if you have doubts, we can then do a live demo. Citing, of course, this is one of the most important things for our work when writing an article. So just include citations and generating bibliographies. In order to do this, Mendeley offers a Mendeley site. And again, similar to Mendeley Web Importer, you can access this functionality by a different means, by going to the web page or from the Tools menu. Instead of installing the Mendeley Web Importer, you can install Mendeley site for Microsoft Word. This is a plugin for Word. You can also insert it from the menu of Microsoft Word, and the same for iPad. I wouldn't recommend to do this, to take this path, because in general, working within the IP range of an institution, you will probably encounter firewalls and so on. This is done via the shop, the online shop of Office. So I would recommend, my recommendation is that you either choose one or two, but in any case, I don't think you will find a lot of obstacles to install it. And again, this is a plugin that will immediately come to the reference area of your Word documents. So basically, this is the layout for Word. If you go to References and you have properly installed the plugin, you should see Mendeley site here. If you click on Mendeley site, a new window will open, and this is basically a window towards your library. Everything included in your library, you can find it here. So you can search within a specific collection, you can search for references. Depending on what you type here, different options will be offered, and then you can select those references that you are interested in, and then you can include them and insert them in your text. So basically, you have a page here where you are writing, and you want to insert a reference. It's very important that your cursor is in the right place, in the position where you want to insert your reference. Then you need to select one or more. Now it's just one, but it will be updated with 2, 3, or as many as you want. And then you can insert citation, and it will be inserted in the place where the cursor is. And then you can keep on writing and inserting more citations, and so on. So once that you have included all citations in your article, you need to generate a bibliography. In general, they come at the end of the articles, like the reference list. How do you do so? So again, it's very important to locate the cursor in the right place, in the place where your reference list you want your reference list to be generated. And the only thing you need to do is just go to More and insert bibliography. And this will immediately generate in one single click the whole bibliography that is included as reference in your main body of the text. If you make changes to your library while working, or if you delete a reference from your library, if you change something, you can update your Word document by Update from Library. So any change that you do in your library, if you update your document, you will get your reference list updated and also the bibliography accordingly. And this is relevant because sometimes you detect a mistake in the reference while writing, but it's already inserted. So if you update it, then everything will be correct. As we were discussing before, sometimes or every single journal requires a specific reference style. By default, there are 8,000 styles that you can find within Mendeley Reference Manager, and with one single click, you can change the style in your whole document. Basically, well, you have citation style here. In the first screen, you can only see a few of them, but you can go to select another style. You can type here the name of the style that you want. There will be a list created according to what you are typing here, and then you can update your citation style with one single click. If you still need something very customized and very specific, there is this resource is a CSL editor that would allow you to create the reference that you want. It's not that easy to use, and I don't think it's necessary because, I mean, within 8,000 you should be able to find the style that you want, but still it's something that you can do. Customize, fully customize your reference. And collaboration. This has to do with the groups. So we come back to the left area of the screen. We discussed about the different collections, the default collections and also the customized collections, and now we have groups. With groups, you can invite colleagues, peers, members of your community to collaborate in one specific, to collaborate with you when you are writing a specific article. So basically, you can share with the group all the articles in such a way that everybody can contribute their opinions, their ideas, their comments on real time to the group, and everybody will be able to see what the others are writing or what are the ideas that they are providing. So basically, well, this is very straightforward. You can create a new group here. You can name it as you wish, and then you can start collaborating with people. If you go to one of these articles within a group and you need to be in the group, you can do exactly the same. So you can include annotations, and as you can see here, different users will have different appearances when making their annotations and their comments. It's important to note, in this case, if you are within a group, you will see this shared message here. This means that you can have this article open from the group or open from your collection. And if you have it from your collection, your annotations will be independent than the ones that you are doing to the one in the group. So you will have like two replicated papers with different features on them. And here, if you are within a group, of course, you will see the comments of all the members of the group. Well, creating a group is pretty straightforward. You need to go to your user profile. You go to preferences, and here you can create new groups. You can invite members. You can accept invitations that were sent to you by someone else. You can handle your group if you are the owner, or if you are not the owner, you will be the guest. So you will be able to also to discuss with other members. So basically, this is what you can do in groups. Basically, collaborate on real time online by providing notes, by making annotations, sharing information, and this is again in real time, which I think that is very convenient when you are writing on an article, irrespective of the area of the world where you are, time zones, and so on. So again, this you can do it from from your settings. Is your personal settings, or well, not the setting, but your personal area has a lot of information. This is a very relevant area to explore. Sure.
Where can I check for duplicates?
That's a very good question. Actually, this used to be included in the Mendeley desktop.
Yes, because I was a former
yeah.
user.
It's not available at this moment anymore. Actually, the team is working very hard because this is everybody's asking for this. Everybody's asking for this. So I know that they are actually prioritizing it, and they have been working on it. I don't think it's very easy to do because they have been working on that for months, but this is one of the most popular claims from the user community of Mendeley. Where is the search for duplicates? Yes, this is a very good point. What I would do is, I mean, it's a little bit of a not very good way to do this, but sort your articles by name and then look for duplicates. But again, if you have 50 articles, it's doable. If you have 500, I mean, it's tedious and boring. So I really hope that they have this functionality available soon, because it's a requirement that you all are requesting, and I find it also important, because actually it's more tricky. If you have two versions of the same article, sometimes you might make an annotation in one of them, second annotation in the other one, and then you have like a lot of information spread all around your library, and it's not. So I really hope, and I.
Also, one more question: if the metadata have some mistakes, could the new system check for the right ones?
No, I think that you need to manually, unless, so it depends.
In the previous,
you can go, if you know the ESSN or the DOI or whatever, you can look for it, and then those metadata should be fine. So if you inserted a reference manually.
The details of metadata, the details of metadata.
What you will find in the reference eventually, right? Like the style and the.
Because sometimes the metadata details are not correct, and you have to search for the correct ones. The previous.
Yeah, in principle, with the DOI, all the metadata should be fine because they have been. So if you have inserted a reference manually, for instance, and there are mistakes there, and you are not sure, the only way to populate this with the proper data is just by typing the DOI, for instance, and all the metadata there should be fine. But otherwise, no, there is no automatic correction. If you included, if you insert a manually a reference, the system won't detect. And this is the reason, actually, as you can type on all different fields, this is the reason why you cannot really detect which is the correct, because otherwise the system wouldn't be so flexible. Is there any other question or any on these lines? Or okay, so from Mendeley you can also search for references. So basically, well, you need to type here your search term, and you will be shown different resources. You can actually get suggestions according to your library. So you will get an email every time a new article has been uploaded to Mendeley, and the system detects that might be of your interest. So you will get an email with a link to the reference. And if you make a search, in this case, very original COVID, you will get a list of articles. And this is a very informative page. So you have, of course, the title, the status of the article, whether it's open access or not. If the PDF is included, you will see it in red. And then you can add it to the library or view the PDF or different things. If you type on the, and of course you have the same, an info panel here with all the information, the metadata, and so on. If you type in the title of, well, you can add it to the library directly. In this case, you don't need to use the web importer. All the tools from Elsevier you can add immediately, even from Science Direct or Scopus, you can add to Mendeley without having to use the web importer. Well, you can type in the title, and then you will come here. And there's a lot of relevant information in the articles within Mendeley data. Actually, well, of course, the title, you can add it to the library, abstract, and so on. But you can find the keywords, which is very nice when trying to find similar research. And you will find a lot of information. So how this article has been read, what's the seniority of the readers, whether this is a senior person, PhD student, postdoc, so on, the discipline of the article, and some metrics. And these metrics actually include like likes in Twitter or sites in LinkedIn and so on. So I think it's a little. I think that we are all very much used to impact factor, but I think that in the future there will be other ways to measure the impact of our research, and I think this is going in this direction, as I'm showing here. And this is how to get reading recommendations. Well, just with Mendeley suggests, as I told you before, I can show you live where to find it. And again, so in your profile, you can also give feedback to the team that develops the system. For instance, if you're interested in having the searching for duplicates, you can come here, write your text. Hey, I'm missing this, I would make it better. And of course, this is a worldwide application. If they get one message saying I want to have this implemented, probably it won't. But if, as been the case of searching for duplicates, all the community is asking the same, they will prioritize. They look at these mails. This is the source of information. Actually, Mendeley is like a dynamic tool. It's constantly under development, and they base their priorities depending on what users are typing here. You can also get support here. If you click, you will get to the help guides. All the information that I have conveyed to you and more is represented here. How to access the different functionalities, guides of use, well, how it works. So you can go to mendeley.com guides, or as I have just showed you, you can do this actually from Get Support also in this web page. And getting support, you can also go to this frequent answer to these questions, the most common questions. You can also contact the team via email or chat. I think that now they have also implemented a phone conversation, so you can talk to the people, and this has to do with you have a problem with the settings of your account, or you perceive something to be incorrect. This is the way that you have to communicate with the team, the Mendeley team. And well, here you have the link again. I will share this presentation with Erasmia, and you can find all these resources there. And well, basically this was it. Again, same as with the previous version. If you go here, you will get to a survey. We are evaluated with this survey, and then you can access also a certificate. And now I have opened my Mendeley account here. So if you have any question, any doubt, we can do it. So I'm in the searching engine now, but I can go to my library. And if you want a further explanation or anything, let me know, because we can do any demo here. Or
I have some papers that may or may not be published, for which I need to input into Mendeley their archive number. Is there any easy or efficient way to do that instead of searching for each one of them in Google Scholar?
Sorry, I didn't fully understand the question. Could you repeat? Sorry.
I will repeat it. I have some papers that may or may not be published, for which I need to input into Mendeley.
So these are not...
There are some papers that are not
so
published.
We are talking about preprints.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And they need to input the archive number into Mendeley.
Yeah. The archive database.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
archive.
So, yep.
Is there any easy and efficient way to do that instead of searching and manually doing one by one each time?
No, what I would do is I would use the web importer. So you go to archive.
It is already, I think it's already used in the archive.
But in that case, you can click on a lot of articles at the same time and bring them all to your library.
Library.
Yeah. So I mean, if you, again, my folders are always like bread, cheese, chocolate. If you type chocolate, you will, I mean, you can do a more complex search, of course, and then you will get a list. And when you click on web importer, you will be offered all those titles in such a way that you can click, I mean, if they are 50-50, if there's 1-1, but you don't need to type any number or anything. The Mendeley web importer will detect the metadata in the web page, and you can select the ones that are of your interest. I mean, this is the same. It doesn't matter that you are in Archive or in PubMed or in SSR and AIR. You will need to type a search, I mean, a search query. You can make it as complex as you want. You will retrieve, or Mendeley web importer will retrieve all those articles that contain those terms, and you can, it's not necessary that you go one by one. You can select 20 and add them to your library.
We will see that, and we can communicate again if...
Perfect, yes, sure.
Thank you
absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately I cannot use my computer, but with the web importer it's very, very easy. It will detect all the metadata, and you can include them then. I don't know if it's some sort of clear or... Thank you.
Again, about papers that I have my own files. I have a library with a lot of papers that I have my own text. In the new version, they will also be uploaded to the cloud, and then I cannot have them.
You can always have them in your computer. Absolutely. Okay. Of course, you are free to have as many papers as you want. But the system will consider what it is in the cloud. So you really need to add them from your computer to the library.
Sure.
And then once that you have them there, even if you delete them from your computer, your papers will still be available because they will be stored in the cloud. Being available for you, and if you don't want to share them with the rest of the community, no one will be able to access.
So even if I delete them locally, they will still be available on the cloud.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is the idea, to make a robust system in such a way that the chances that you lose information are really low. And of course, it has also caveats or drawbacks, like the searching property that is not the same exploring 50 million of documents than 1,000.
And the more technical question, I may not have found it myself. How can I remove a tag? I have a paper, and it seems that I cannot remove a tag whenever I try to, in other words, remove it from a collection. If I try to remove it, it says that I have to delete the whole article, or I may be doing something wrong. I have a paper that is in several collections.
So this is the article. Okay. Library. I would like to download it because thank you. Thanks for coming. This would be very easy to, so let's put cheese. So basically, if you click here, the text should be removed.
You go to the metadata.
Yeah, exactly.
Try to delete it from the collection.
No, you have to go to the metadata. Yeah.
So you go to the metadata and remove the tag.
Exactly. The same place where you create it is the place where you remove it. No, and again, sometimes when you want to do something and you don't find the way. And again, it's very important this message that even if you delete the article from the collection, the article will still be available in all your references. So in order to get rid of your article, you really need to delete it from all references. And if you want to completely get rid of your article, you have to delete it from trash. So again, the system tries to protect the loss of information, so that you have to be really sure. I mean, you need to take 3 steps as to completely delete an article. So it's not that by chance, because before you could remove a whole folder and lose all the information.
So if you have the old software, it will keep working in the computer, or at some point?
Yeah, actually, before we started the session, it was possible to download the previous version, Mendeley desktop, until September. First September, they are not allowing, because of course we want all users to transition to. But the tool is still working, and it will. They won't discontinue it until they know who is using. Not who, but how many users are using desktop or Mendeley Reference Manager. So when they see that there is a really high decline and that most of the users are already using Mendeley Reference Manager, at that particular moment they will probably discontinue the previous version. But it's not something that will happen in the next months. No, because what we perceive also is that for new users, Mendeley Reference Manager is very nice. But for previous users, getting this transition is not being that easy. So there is a point of pain there, and again, missing functionalities. I think that, again, we have lost some functionalities that were relevant for previous users, but I think that technical people have been also adding some other functionalities that are more relevant. I think that the system is more robust, though at this point probably not as flexible as it was before.
Yes, that's for sure. Okay, thank you.
Thanks to you. Thanks for coming and for your questions. Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, if I want to, if I have the older version, okay, and I have the Mendeley site from Word. Now, if I download the new, I have to download the new Mendeley site, or it's okay with the old one.
So Mendeley Online is the same for both, which is Mendeley Reference Manager Online. If you download the new application for your computer, the first time you log in, or with the same account name that you have for the Mendeley desktop, at the moment you log in, all the references in Mendeley desktop will be immediately transferred to your new account.
Okay, I have done this now.
Yeah.
Okay, now if I want the Mendeley site for the Microsoft Word.
Ah, I understand. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I need again to do it again from the new system.
No,
it's okay.
Because actually, this small window that opens is actually a view on your library, so it will be fine.
So it's okay.
Yeah, you don't need to do anything. You just need to install the plugin. And to be honest, installing the web importer, the extension for your browser, is very easy. Installing the plugin, depending on the firewalls of your institution, can be more cumbersome in such a way that maybe you need to contact the IT department. Actually, I couldn't install it in my own computer because firewalls of Elsevier. So, and this is the reason why I don't recommend to use the shop, the office shop, because this will cause you trouble. The best thing is just to contact your IT department and they will easily install it. So,
thank you.
Thanks to you. And this what you have just said is also important. So if you are using Mendeley Desktop and you start using Mendeley Reference Manager, it's not that you need to start building your library from the scratch. Everything you have in your library will be immediately transferred to the new system. And then depending on the type of person that you are, how secure you want to be, I would always export all my reference to a file before I do any transition, or as I told you before on how to do it, right? So I would go, I don't know if there is any internet connection now, but I would go to this info panel and I would export all my references, save them in a text file, and if something goes wrong, at least you still have them there. But it shouldn't happen. It should be automatic and it should be correct. So basically, you select all your references, then you decide to export, you decide the format, and then you generate a file with all your references. And again, this is context specific. I mean all references. If I'm doing this from a folder and I select them all, I won't be selecting all my references. I will only be selecting those references belonging to this specific folder. And this is important, again, when you are searching for, so if I search something here, I'm searching in the breadth folder. I'm not searching in all references. So if I type cheese, I probably won't find anything. I know that I have articles containing the word cheese. Why aren't they represented? Because I'm not in the proper folder. So that's important. Synchronization, real time, which is good, I think. You can also work offline. So if you have your version installed in your computer, you work offline. You can do whatever you want there. And then once that you connect or you recover the connection to the internet, it will be immediately updated in the online version, which I think is also very nice. And I think that all the functionalities that Mendeley Desktop has lost, most of them are caused by this robustness that they want to have now, not losing information and having both versions fully synchronized. Do you have any other question? Really appreciate your presence here and also your questions, because it's nice to open a discussion. Thanks to you, and again, my contact details are here, so feel free to reach out whenever you have a doubt or something. If you have a technical issue, I wouldn't recommend you to reach me out, because I'm not a technical person, so I would actually recommend you to go here to your settings and get support. Go to the support page. But for usage, how to use the tool, definitely it will be my pleasure to help where I can. And here you have all those things. No, there is no phone, so it's still email and chat, and well, you can. And this has to do more with account settings or access issues or things like this. And don't forget to give your feedback. If you are missing something really from the previous tool, if you think that it would be really convenient so giving feedback, is the food of the technical people in this place. So you can do this. And again, please, if you like it, use Mendeley, but use reference managers, because it's like living in the caverns or living in a modern world. So thanks a lot to you. No, please, again, no, I don't want to bless. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Thank you very much.